Hey guys, it's Will.
I'm Mike.
It's First Watch, the show. It's part review, part reaction. So, Nemesis 3. This is like a Blu-ray set from the MVD Rewind collection, and this has Nemesis 2, 3, and 4 in it. And it has a lot of bonus features, and we can talk about that later. We've reviewed Nemesis 1, which I loved. That's one of my favorite movies.
This one feels very different, because this would be like its own little trilogy.
Yeah, right? These movies fit together, and Nemesis 3, or Nemesis 1 is like a separate thing almost. Yeah. And we also reviewed Nemesis 2. Mm-hmm. So now we are on to Nemesis 3. So, Nemesis 3. Where to begin? So I watched the director's commentary. It's weird. It's set up like a director's commentary, but it's only 20 minutes long. Right. So like he didn't talk over the whole movie. It's just into like little bits of footage from the movie. And in the interview, commentary, whatever you want to call it, Albert Pune is the guy who wrote and directed all of these movies, right? He's talking about how he conceived of Nemesis 2, 3, and 4 as one giant movie. Right. And he couldn't convince anyone to fund it, right? But he got funding for one of them. And I think that was Nemesis 3, because Nemesis 3 was intended to set up Nemesis 4, which would be this big epic thing, right? And then Nemesis 2 somehow was filmed concurrently with Nemesis 3, and he kept talking in his director's commentary for Nemesis 3 about how all of the money for 3 was spent on 2. So, but it's like, Nemesis 3 was supposed to be the movie, and then Nemesis 2 became its own movie, and they spent more money on that. It's a very strange situation that happened, and I know, because we've watched other interviews with him, that he had kind of like a head-butting relationship with his producer, where they didn't always see eye to eye, but the producer was always willing to fund his movie, so he kept working with him, but they didn't really like each other that much.
Not uncommon, but it makes it hard to really make good movies.
Well, and also when we were watching this, there's so much footage in this movie that's in 2.
It's basically
that you're like, it's like half the movie is like they filmed all of 2, they took out what didn't fit, they kept that, and then they built another movie around it.
The thing that 3
so
was just
what we should say before we get into this is it's not a good movie.
No, and it's nothing to do with the director. Because like his vision of this world is interesting. If he had more money, I think it could have been really good.
He talks so often.
He just doesn't have the
money.
About
how little money.
Because the first one was legit good,
and he actually says in the commentary for the third one. Again, the second one, as we talked about in our review, I didn't love it in the way that I loved the first one, but like it's really interesting.
It's different and simple. The third one, it does this weird thing where the first half of the literally half of the movie, every 5 to 10 seconds, there's like a bright flash, and it shows like a flashback in a weird color, and it was like giving me a headache and it made this weird sound every time, and I'm like, why is it doing this? Like, I'm guessing there wasn't enough footage to make enough.
No, I think he was trying to do the best with what he had.
Yeah, there wasn't enough footage to make a full movie, so they used
and actually
one
of the things he says in the director's commentary about, I think this is about Nemesis 3, is that he thought that like a 75 to 80 minute cut of this movie would be really good. Mm-hmm. Well, not really good, but like given the resources, because he keeps saying as they're showing stuff on the screen, like, "Ooh, yeah, we really didn't have enough money for that," and like things like that. But at that time, in order to sell movies in Europe, which was basically what the producer did was they made the movie, then they sold the rights for distribution in Europe, and that made back the cost of the movie, basically. Yep. A movie had to be 95 minutes or they wouldn't release it. So he said that pacing in Nemesis 3, he believes, is terrible. Because he had to have a 95-minute movie or else they couldn't sell it.
There's a lot of long scenes where not much is going on. It's just
like weird pauses.
Or
one of the other things I found really confusing about this movie is that they very clearly have like 1 or 2 locations, but they're trying to shoot them from a ton of angles, so it looks like she's going on this journey. Yeah. But I'm like, is she? But
she's in the same spot.
I didn't quite get that, so I'm like, is she just walking in circles around this building? Like, what's going on?
I think he's a victim of his era. I think if he would have been making movies now with streaming, where you can make a 72-minute movie, like who cares, right? It's streaming. Would have been a lot better.
And with the technology,
like he has all these ideas, like he has the creatures and cyborgs and explosions and things like that, and he just doesn't have the money to do it.
Well, and there's also, again, like as I said this when we did the first Nemesis movie, that you could never convince me that the Wachowskis did not watch that movie before they made The Matrix. In this one, there's twins with blonde hair who are like these weird see-through alien assassins. It's like the exact same thing as The Matrix Reloaded.
And they're going after Sue Price, who's the main character, and she's like, what is she, like a cyborg warrior?
She's like, like genetically enhanced human, yeah.
And she's like a former, like the actress is a former Miss Olympia, like body.
Well, so he also talked
jacked up.
in the Albert Pune talked in the director's commentary for this movie that he ended up hiring a lot of bodybuilders for this movie, and he said it was a big mistake because they're
not usually actors.
Well, in addition to the fact that he talked about how they're not great actors, he also talked about how what they do is so hard on them psychologically and physically that you can't have them present for the scene. So he would do a couple takes and he'd be like, "There's no way that they're going to get where I need them to be, so I just have to accept the fact that it won't be that good."
Because I think it's either the second or the third one where he talks about Sue Price was literally like 3 days removed from
that was the
contest.
second one, yeah.
And it's like to get ready for those contests, they like don't drink water. They like don't eat. They train really hard. Like they really put their body through, and you're supposed to recover for like weeks and months after that, and to go straight to a movie
and
where
also,
you're shooting in location in the desert
and it's cold,
and it's
he was talking on the commentary about how they shot this. It was really cold,
it's tough.
And you have no body fat, and she's wearing basically nothing, and she's like freezing to death.
Yeah,
like
because she is jacked, but she's short.
She's 5 feet tall.
She's not like a 200-pound person. She's like 120 pounds or something.
In the commentary, he also says that it was really, really hard to shoot Sue Price because she's so short. That it was like how like the physics of trying to make her appear in scenes fighting people who are like 6 feet tall is like impossible.
Yeah. So
it's Nemesis 3. So and we're gonna do a review of Nemesis 4 because we've already watched it. And
we'll see.
Yeah, I would say. Well, we'll just give spoiler. Well, not spoiler, but I'll give you a preview of the next episode. Nemesis 4 is much, much better.
Much better, yeah.
Than Nemesis, and it like I really enjoyed it. So we'll get into that more. But
and you don't really need to see 3 to get 4.
No, you definitely don't.
So
and you like, I mean, honestly, if you're a fan of the first one, or you're interested in the second one, like you could pick this up and watch 2 and 4 and not miss anything.
Yeah, but if you have it. And it's part of this.
But and also like like we having watched all of these movies, like I've become like a big fan of Albert Pune as a person. Like he's just really humble and like normal, and he's very like as we said in our Nemesis 2 review, like after he had Nemesis as a calling card, I really think that he could have gone and made like mainstream studio movies and done a good job. But he very adamantly maintains that he wanted to make the movies he wanted to make, and that was it. And so he ended up making these really low budget, like, and also I forgot to show you. Poster. Ooh la la, mommy.
So yeah, that's Nemesis 3.
Nemesis 3, yeah.